I'm joined here by Justin Mohammed. Now, Justin Mohammed is the project manager of Next Level Developments. Can you explain a bit more about Next Level Developments for us?
Okay. Next Level Developments, I guess the reason I called it Next Level is I'm a site manager by trade, and I was looking at ways for us to develop communities for us to live in. And I thought many of the times these things are put together and developers try to come together and make large sums of money selling houses or plots of land to people. But what we've never done is really build a cohesive community. So I felt the next level of development is we come together and we build a community as one, where we're all developers, but we develop the community that we like. The term that I learned was intentional community, where you develop the community that you intend to with all the goods and services you need. So that's what Next Level Developments is about.
How long has Next Level Developments been around in existence for?
I guess as a company, probably just under a year now, but as an idea, we've been working on it for maybe about 2, traveling to different countries. I've been Ghana, Nigeria, Gambia. I went to Jamaica and Grenada looking for spaces that we felt would be useful. But then once I traveled to Zambia last year, that's when Next Level Development, as we know it now, took off.
Why Zambia? What appealed to you about Zambia instead of the other countries that you went to?
It's a load of things, but I think just looking at the infrastructure. So Ghana I'd been to maybe about 8 or 9 times, and very familiar with, and had a space there for myself and my family. But then when I got to Zambia, the temperament of the people, the infrastructure was different, the climate was different, just so many things that I felt lended itself to people, particularly those of us who are coming from the Caribbean via the UK or America, to go back and be comfortable in.
This project is in Zambia at the moment.
Yeah.
Will it be expanded to other African countries or?
Yeah, Zambia is our pilot project, so I felt like it was the best place for us to get started. There was a lot of help for us to get it off the ground, and in a very short space of time, we've managed to get the lands that we wanted, we've managed to get the business that we've wanted up and running. And so it's just a really great place to build our pilot, but the whole idea is rather than just keep talking about what we should do, we wanted to do it, put it together, show people it working as a blueprint, and then take it across the continent.
Okay, and how many members are there in Next Level Developments?
Well, we've got some in America, we have some in Zambia, and we've got some in the UK. So altogether there's 22 of us, but in terms of the paid up shareholders, there's 14, I believe.
So you've got 20 members in different places over the world.
Yeah.
How does that work then in terms of how do you communicate with each other?
Well, it's 2020 now, so we use a variety of tools, but we video conference a lot. We call, and when we travel back to Zambia, everybody can meet up in Zambia. So we've done that in November. And if this travel ban isn't an issue, then we'll be doing that again in May.
You've travelled around, you've done things collectively and as an individual. How have you seen the difference from working as an individual as opposed to this time working
as an individual, I found it's you get to do what you want to do, but it's very difficult to sustain. And when problems come, the same way you're in it as an individual, you have to face those as an individual. So it just makes it much easier when there's problems. If you need help, ideas, or you've got to come up with new ways of doing things, 20 people with their own networks of people that they know and their own experiences makes a huge difference. And now we've got lawyers, accountants, psychotherapists, social workers, I've got builders, I've got IT professionals, we've got journalists and all sorts. So just having all those people around, I've got gold miners, I've got farmers, and it just makes it a lot easier for us to do.
So I know Next Level Developments has been around for about a year, you mentioned. In terms of progress, you're going to be going Zambia at the end of the month, and you're going to be going there for a year. And you've actually also just come back from Zambia. You've been there, how was it, 6 months, 5 months you was there?
3 months I was there.
You was there for 3 months. By the way, you spent a lengthy period of time there.
Yeah.
Now, during the 3 months, what was being done on the ground by Next Level Development?
Just actually consolidating our land purchases and then setting up and registering our businesses. So we've set up mechanics and recovery business. We have a minibus hire and tour company, and we have a construction tool hire and construction company. So we would just, and we're still in the process because 3 months wasn't long enough to really do the whole thing. But we're in the process of getting that up. They're trading, all those businesses are actually trading, but now we're developing those. We've registered we have some mining land, we have agricultural land, and we have some residential land, and we're putting all those bits together in terms of having our land surveys and getting those registered under our company.
And is that registered as a company in Zambia or
it's registered as a company
in Zambia? How are you finding it working with the local Zambians in Zambia and also the government in terms of getting the land and working with them in terms of their legal constraints?
Yeah, it's a different culture, so they don't do, sometimes we come here and we expect it, like land tenure and stuff, to be as we've lived here, and it's different, it's a different culture, a different history. But governmentally, they have their systems in place and they run. It takes a bit, from my vantage point, I guess, coming up in England, it takes a bit longer than I'd like, but they have really good processes. And the government offices that we've been to, like we went to the mining, Ministry of Mines to help test the land and to get our registration. It's pretty straightforward. We went in, they helped us test our initial surface rocks and stuff. And then on top of that, we went through the process for registering, and that all got done pretty quickly.
Now, I understand that you're having a trip to Zambia in May,
yeah,
where people can actually come along to the trip with you, members of Next Level Development. Mm-hmm. Can people that are not members of Next Level Development come along, and do they have to?
Yeah, we call them research trips, and really it's just for anyone who wants to come and see. And like I said, we're building a blueprint, so none of this is a secret. We want to share this with as many people in the diaspora as possible to inspire them to go, look, we're not stuck. We don't have to stay where we are doing what we're doing. We could try something different. And Africa is the home of so much of the Earth's resources, it makes no sense for us to stay where there are no resources begging for crumbs.
And what are some of the activities that you'll be doing on this research trip that people can get involved in?
Basically, we're going to go to the different places, the different lands that we've got, and actually just show people the opportunities that are available. So yes, there's the business opportunities, there's the land opportunities, agriculture and whatnot, but also social opportunities, just to see just how well you can live there. And I think with the people who came last time, they were knocked out when they got there and were like, hold on, like where's the dust on the ground kind of thing. It's supposed to be really destitute here, and all they could see was great roads and big buildings. So, you know, I think it's nice for people to just come out and get a real understanding or feel for how Zambia is.
And how have you found settling yourself personally in Zambia?
It's really easy to settle for the basics, like in terms of like home, car, and obviously I've got lots of work to do. I'm making friends all the time, but then I've found one of the things I wanted us to do going back was we all go together. So it was a lot of fun when everybody from the UK came out, and there was 20 of us from the UK. And when they were gone, it wasn't terrible, but I missed having people who actually shared my life experience, came from the same space and went through some of the same things. So it's cool, it's easy to do, but the whole idea of the project is for the people from the diaspora to be able to move with people from the diaspora in and amongst the locals, as opposed to being there by yourself and with the locals.
And are they very hospitable?
Hospitable?
Yes. How are the Zambians in terms of how they are to people from the diaspora?
I think they're excellent. Like I said, it was really easy for us to get a foothold, and most of that's because the way that we were helped by the local Zambians. So in a very short space of time, we were up and running with this, and if we didn't have the help, the way we had the help, it wouldn't be possible. So I wasn't able to do that quickly in Ghana, and we'd been going for maybe 10 or 12 years. But in less than a year, what we've been able to do out there, and even just the integrity or the trustworthiness of them was really good. What
is the procedures in terms of residency, getting a stay? Because if people obviously are interested in this project, looking at repatriation or even staying in Zambia for a lengthy time, what is like the visa requirements, whether it's short-term or long-term stays?
Short-term, you can get 3 months to travel and it'd be okay. 3 months in a 12-month period. If you're doing longer than that, then it's pretty much the same as it is for every country. You just have to demonstrate the value you bring. So if we're going there because we're working for these companies and the companies we're building and working for, well, they can apply for yearly work permits. If you're going there with investors permits because the companies we've built are worth X amount and we pass the threshold, then that's great, we can do that. But we always have to demonstrate our value to the country to go. And I think sometimes when we do stuff like this, we think we'll buy a piece of land, put a house on it, and the country should let us stay forever, which is, I believe, a consequence of our slavery, because just like slaves were still expecting people to do things for us without us actually taking responsibility and building anything for ourselves or for the benefit of others. So as we grow, as we develop, it's easy to get your stay if you're actually bringing value to the country, and we'll make sure that's what we're doing. Why is repatriation special for me? Because England's not home. I mean, if you're growing in England, we're here because our parents came here seeking extra money and a better life. Everything they decided to come here and get, we've already got. There is no better life to be had living here. So I looked in the Caribbean, which was a preference. I like the Caribbean, but no natural resources for us to really take care of ourselves. Africa has them, so that's why it's there. It's ours, and it has what we need to do what we need to do. If you always do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always got. And I think we all know England is England, the West, Europe, America. Something's got to give. So either we do something for ourselves or we suffer the consequences.
We want to build homes that are, affordable, not too extravagant, because, you could go around, individuals may want to, sometimes you often hear people going home and, to the motherland or the Caribbean and want to build, 10-bedroom mansions, what have you. Now, it's okay if you want to do that, but like for most people, is that really necessary? Can we afford it, or do we want that? The idea of a intentional community is to not for anybody to be lording themselves over anybody else, but we all live in a community, and the housings are modest. It's nothing too extravagant. So the model is simple. Has all the basic amenities. It could be a 1-bedroom, it could be a 2-bedroom, it could be a 3-bedroom. It will have your separate toilet, kitchen, utilities. Generally single story, and it will be as ecological as possible in terms of, we care about the environment, so we will use, renewable energy. If we can, harvest our rainwater, if we can draw electricity from the sun through solar panels, if that's a viable way to gain energy, we'll do that. We're prepared to adopt that. Otherwise, we'll be using the grid system if it proves to be more viable to use. But we are about a sustainable development. So again, it's local materials from the area, local resources of the people, meaning labour. So we employ them, and even those who've invested, might have a hand or can have a hand in coming along and helping actually build, their homes. This idea is part of I think it's the second, third stage of what we're doing in next level development, because at this stage it's about getting the necessary funds through the investment of the members who join in, and once we are at a stage where we have acquired enough say financial the funds to actually start the construction, then we'll move into that area. We are a couple of years from that stage at this point, because we're still developing businesses and getting investment in order to achieve that. But we've made significant strides because land has been purchased, you know, for residential development and or mixed use. So we have land available where we can, you know, where we intend to build our community.
So there's two things I want to pick on now. First of all, the community that you're building in terms of the housing. Now, in terms of next level developments, it is effectively a cooperative of people investing. Now, when we look at the housing, does it mean that everyone who wants to acquire the housing has to be part of next level developments? And say, for example, someone outside the next level developments wants to acquire a housing once it's built, how does it work?
Well, I say we are a community. And what we're doing, so we're inviting people to be a part of the community, because the community has a certain ethos and a way of living, you know, so you've got to agree to be a part of what we're doing. You know, it's not just come along and I want to build something, or I want a house. That is available, and people do that. You know, anybody can come along and generally buy a plot of land and build something, and people do that. You know, in next level development, it's more concerned about community living, cohesion, and cooperation. You know, so you got to buy into the ethos of that. You got to understand that, and you got to want to be a part of that. So it's not about you as an individual and yourself and your individual needs. We're looking at the general well-being and development of us as a people who want to repatriate or want to have a place in the sun. Most of us in the diaspora, you know, for want of a better, we were stuck in Europe, or we don't have the option, or we do it individually, and you know, we fall victim to some of the, the problems that occurred. You know, we've heard the stories, but the idea is if we move as a community, we have the backup, the protection of a community. You know, where we're all looking out for one another, and it's safer, secure, and I believe it's more of a sustainable idea that has longevity, that can, you know, we can move forward in the future. We can leave a legacy for our future generations as well. It's not just an individual having a little home somewhere up in the hills and the mountains that, you know, exposed to, you know, all the ills that could occur, but you have the backing of a group of people, a community.
What land does Next Level Developments have in Zambia? Whereabouts of the land?
There are three basic sites. We have sort of a large sort of in the north, I believe, Mansa. That's it's a mixed-use site. So that's, you know, that's about 1,000 hectares, in fact. Yeah, and that's where we conduct mining, agriculture, and it's also open for residential. That's in the north. In the southern part, near Lusaka, we have a residential site. It's enough to build a community of up to 60 homes with all the other amenities, you know, community buildings, schools, etc. We have that, and we also have some farming land, some separate farming land local to Lusaka as well. Just I believe it's about an hour or so. So, you know, we've achieved that in a short space of time, which is, I think, successful, and it's proof of how, you know, determined and serious we are.
Have you done any projects like this or anything else in Africa before?
Yes, in my work basically, you know, I've done, when I say projects like this, I should say not like this, because I've done it for individuals who want to build homes, you know, so I've, you know, done film plans, etc. for people who want to build their mansions and whatever, or the little homes up in the hills or some remote place, or on an individual basis, but never as part of a group cooperative, you know, a community building, you know, initiative. So that's the difference, you know, in all honesty. We can, you know, home design, and that's going to be, we can vary that, and that's going to be, we're going to fit into the local area, the community, and, you know, the aesthetics of the area. So it's going to look, well, the look can change, it can adapt. you know, but we've got a basic design already, sort of small, sort of like, I don't know, might go a single story, maybe, not say cottagey, but, you know, just a modest kind of development. It can be a modern development, still stylish, but always, you know, always comfortable and always appropriate to people's needs as individuals or families, you know. And it will be developed, and it can, you know, change. So it's not set in stone in terms of the styles and what we do, you know. But it's just going to be affordable and you know, sustainable.
Okay, and you've been to Zambia how many times?
I've been once. My first time just last year, November. Yeah, my first time, but it's not my last time. We plan to return just again in May, and that will be my second. I'll take a longer, longer trip to actually establish some of what I'm working on, you know, what we're trying to build. Because, like I said, we've got the sites, so it's now making an actual fact, you know, a reality. Looking at it and start planning out and putting it into effect. You know, this idea of repatriation, it's a long-standing idea. It's always existed in our community, you know, for apparently not even decades but centuries, you know, because you know we've been placed in a, I say, unnatural environment. We like the sun, we like the warmth, we like, you know, I like getting up and I like seeing the sun and I like the warm weather. You know, we've gotten used to something else in Europe. But going back, when you go on holiday and when you go to these places, you feel at home, you feel relaxed, and that's what I enjoy about being in the Caribbean or Africa. I feel the kinship and I feel at home, and Zambia in particular is one of those places often overlooked or not even considered, to be honest. Most of us, we consider the Western side of Africa, Gambia, Ghana, and these sort of places, which are more popular. But Zambia, real opportunities do exist there, and you'll find that it's much more akin to our way of living, even in the West. It is a developed place, and the opportunities, like I say, are there for us to, I won't say exploit, but what we do, particularly in next level development, is work with the people there to actually develop business and community, and work with those there for a win-win situation for all. You know.
What made you want to join Next Level Developments?
Well, I came across Next Level Development in September 2019, and I found the concept quite mind-blowing at the time. I was in a situation where I had been wanting to explore opportunities to have a stake in Africa, invest in Africa, and get to know it better. But it was latent. I was quite worried to go about and try and do it by myself. And when I came across Next Level Development, I realized that there could be a way in. So that's the reason, that's what attracted me to Next Level Development initially.
Okay, and I can tell you've got an accent by your voice. I'm guessing that's a French accent?
I am French indeed.
Okay, was you born and raised in France?
So I was born and raised in France, in Strasbourg actually, on the German border, but my parents are from Ivory Coast.
Okay, and have you been to Africa before going with Next Level Developments?
I have been actually quite fortunate to travel to quite a few African countries throughout my professional careers over the past 10 years. I have been to Nigeria quite a few times. I have been to a few French African-speaking countries, so my country, Ivory Coast. I have been to Gabon, Cameroon, the French and English side. I have been to Congo-Kinshasa, and I might be missing a couple. But yes, I had the opportunity to explore Africa, but without really fully understanding how I could, initially, that was my idea, initially benefit from it in a sense of investment. What I've realized by joining Next Level Development and getting involved with them, getting to understand the ethos of what Next Level Development was all about, I've realized that I was totally missing the point. And how my thought and understanding of the project evolved is that once you're on the ground, you realize that many people from all around the world, Chinese, the Americans, Germans, many foreigners are going to Africa and making a great living for themselves. They're designing the place to their need and liking, and they're actually thriving. And not only that, they have very little to offer to the locals, whereas Next Level Development had an angle which was really unique, which I've never heard of before, which was to create equal partnership, equally mutually beneficial partnerships with the locals. So the idea was we need them because they have things that we do not have and they need us. And that's what really did it for me and I find quite attractive.
And you went to Zambia on the trip in November, is that correct?
I did indeed, yes.
Yeah, and how did you find the trip in Zambia? Was that your first time going to Zambia in November?
It was my absolute first time. I've vaguely heard about the country, but I had no idea of what Zambia was all about. So yeah, I was mind blown by what I've seen, what I have experienced in terms of being on the ground, seeing what was happening, meeting the locals, seeing the project where the project got to so far, and yeah, meeting Africans living a good life, thriving, looking at this place that was totally stable, and also connecting and getting to know more all the members of the Next Level Development team. That was just an outstanding experience for me.
Okay, and how do you find it working with other members of Next Level Development?
I found that I literally discover a brand new family. We are all like-minded people, so we go and work together for one common objective, which is now at this stage, initially was to create a better future for ourselves. But we realize that we're delivering our work that is much more important than just looking at ourselves. We're literally designing a blueprint that can show the world that it is possible for black people that have never really lived in Africa can actually come together, work collaboratively together, pool funds together, create a project and actually see it come to fruition. So that's what I really love. And we work together all very, very well because we're all like-minded and we're all working towards a common aim. And I find it fascinating that people are giving their free time because we're all pretty much volunteers. Yes, we're part of a Next Level Development now, we're investors, but we're also giving our free time to see it come through successfully.
Now you mentioned you're a volunteer, so everyone from the group is coming with certain skills. What skills are you coming with? I know you've already said that you've travelled to various different places in Africa because you're professional. What is your profession and what skills do you have to bring to Next Level Development?
So I'm a property specialist. I've been doing property management for the past 15 years and I've done quite a few different projects within the property sector. So property management, property sourcing, property refurbishment, rent to rent. So I'm bringing property angle skills, but also what I would call a master negotiator. I have been fine-tuning my negotiating skills for many years, which can come in handy in striking win-win deals with people, ensuring that we get what we need and want, and the other party also. And what I bring in as well is my communication skills. I believe to be quite a sociable person, and I like to connect people and to identify what people want, what they need, and just connect the dots. So gradually, each and every member are gradually finding the natural space, the natural position within the Next Level Development project. And I find that my natural position is within the communication, so the customer care, customer service, and just ensuring that nobody is left behind, so managing the database and putting together content to deliver regular communications. So whether people are members or non-members, people interested in following up what we're doing, they're able to be kept up to date.
And are you planning to repatriate to Africa, or do you see this more as an investment opportunity for you, or is it see where it takes you?
That's the thing that's totally evolved for me. Initially, that was really just an investment opportunity, and it grown to wanted to support the project, which I absolutely believe in it. But gradually, I'm beginning to have the vision that this place, Zambia, could be a place for me to repatriate. Might be a big word, because I consider myself to be what we call a global citizen. So I love to live across multiple countries, but my heart is definitely leaning towards Zambia, in the sense that all the possibilities, everything that you can create to create a stable and also a bright future, a fun future. The reason why I believed in the project so much that I just couldn't stay, I couldn't keep away. I went there in November and I decided that I was going to go back in January. Reason being, I felt that it was a duty of mine to ensure that whoever would come in Zambia to discover and explore on our next trip would have a full-on experience, because I was able to bounce from my initial first experience, which was amazing, to identify areas where we could improve. So I decided to go there to look at further accommodation, to look at lodges, to look at lifestyle as well, to look at things to do, because it's all well and good to arrive in a place where you're going to repatriate, but we have been living in a westernized country for so many years, so we don't realize that we have certain habit and certain level of comfort that we used to. So I wanted to ensure that Zambia can offer all this as well to people looking to repatriate or looking to come and explore, because Zambia has all this to offer, and that was it I was able to identify when I traveled there a second time. And I can't keep away. I mean, we are planning to take a few people, between 20 to 30 people in May, 14th to the 26th of May, for people to come and explore. And I want them to have the most amazing experience and to be as mind-blown as I have been and beyond. I would say come and make up your mind for yourself. Don't just think and sit back and have preconceived ideas, because a lot of people just talk, and they talk about things that they think they know or they have a vague understanding of, but nothing replaces making up your own mind and just booking your trip and coming and find out for yourself in an environment where you're going to be taken care of, in a sense. You're not just jumping and hoping for the best, arriving in a place that is a bit alien and you do not know. You would be now as part of an organized group. A trip well prepared, hopefully, with different things to see, different options, different avenues, and there's nothing better than to come and see for yourself. So that's what I would say.
Hi there, can you just introduce yourself to us?
Yes, my name's Fiona Beckford, and I'm a member of Next Level Development.
And how long have you been a member of Next Level Development?
I joined the group in September 2019 after being invited to a presentation, and just loved what was being discussed.
And have you been to Zambia before with Next Level Developments?
I haven't. I've never been to Zambia. I've been to several other African countries. So I've done the whole of North Africa, kind of like Egypt and Morocco, and then to the east. I've been to Kenya and Tanzania, South Africa and Ghana, but never actually Zambia. So I'm looking forward to going.
Oh, so you've travelled around Africa. So do you have a desire to then repatriate to Africa yourself?
Absolutely. That's one of the main reasons that I joined Next Level Development.
And why is repatriation so important to yourself or us as African people?
Well, I feel that we're coming full circle. So my parents are from the Caribbean. They left in the 60s to come here to make a better life for themselves and for their children. And they were part of the Windrush generation, so they really laid the foundation for setting us up both financially, educationally, to think about making the step to go back to our motherland and actually bring the skill sets and experience that we have, like they did from Jamaica to England, back to the motherland. That's why I feel it's really important for us.
And you mentioned skill sets then, you're talking about the skill sets that they had. Now, working with Next Level Developments, there's a lot of skilled people that have got different skill sets. Do you mind if you share your skill set and what you bring?
In my day-to-day work, I'm a mental health practitioner. I work for the NHS. I'm also an integrative psychotherapist. I am a reflective practitioner, which means I work with business people to help them recognise the skills that they have and improve their relationships with both their superiors and their subordinates. And I do that through monitoring their own behaviour and giving positive feedback. I'm also a mentor. I'm a member of Barton, which stands for Black and Asian Therapists Network. And we have a mentoring scheme called Each One Teach One, where those of us who have been through the system and know how difficult it is to be that lone black person on a training session, and we get to that one module that looks at equality and diversity, and then sharing a little bit of our experience and our pain in a group full of Europeans who just don't understand, and really kind of feeling quite shut down. We then help and support other trainee therapists who are going through the same training and experiencing, unfortunately, the same bias, the same racism, the same lack of knowledge, just to help them get through it with talking to somebody who has been through it.
And how have you found working in a group project with Next Level Developments, and what have you particularly liked?
How have I found it? Amazing. It's so wonderful to work with other black British people who have the same thinking, the same mentality, the same culture as myself, and we want to do something different for ourselves. So rather than stay here and complain, we've actually come together and we're working very proactively together to make a home for ourselves back in Zambia. So far, and it's only been a few months, I'm overwhelmed with the progress that Next Level Development has made, and I found it very inspirational.
Okay, and you've travelled to various different parts of Africa, you mentioned. So, sometimes people from the West, sometimes African people of Caribbean heritage, they say, oh, you go back to Africa, then they're not going to accept you, they're not like you're not going to be welcome. And how have you found it? I know you've not been to Zambia, but in terms of the treatment that you've got when you've been to other African countries?
I've always felt very welcomed. I've not felt like I'm the foreigner, not in Africa, funnily enough. In the Caribbean, yes, but not in Africa. I felt welcomed and accepted, and so I see no reason why it would be any different in Zambia. I think to anybody who's thinking about repatriating somewhere in Africa, I think it would be amazing to think about joining Next Level Development. The fact that we have already started this ball rolling means that it's not talk anymore. We've actually put our money where our mouth is, and we're starting to make inroads. So have a look at the website, contact us, speak to us, because we're all just normal people who want something better for ourselves.
What got me involved in Next Level Developments? A couple of things really. Firstly, as a journalist, I'm very big on statistics. I like to research, and the project to me fulfills the needs of people, black people in this country, in Britain, but also across the diaspora, because I think when you study the statistics, we've been struggling for a very, very long time. We haven't really been afforded equality. We haven't been afforded the same level of opportunities as people from other communities. And I think it's gotten to a point where we have to take our future into our own hands, and that's really like the ethos of Next Level Development. So it's something that I wanted to be a part of. Also, my dad's the founder, so that helps.
And have you been on to their trips to Zambia?
Yes, so I went on the first residential trip in November. It was the first time I ever set foot on the continent of Africa. Amazing experience. One of the things I would say that really stood out was how modern Zambia is. A lot of the time, the representation of African countries is, mud huts, and it's so decadent, and it paints a negative picture in your mind. You think of hungry children, these kind of things. But when I went there and saw how well developed it was, that was very, very inspiring to me.
You mentioned that it's your first African country to go to Zambia.
Yeah.
Are you looking to repatriate to Zambia, or is this a business investment opportunity for you? How do you see Next Level Developments?
I mean, the idea of the project is that it's a blueprint that we're laying out. So we're building a community in Zambia with the mindset of it being a blueprint that people can take in other directions. For me personally, I think it's compatible. It's something I've only been once. I think it's somewhere I'd like to be able to say I can stay and have that option. That's what we're working towards. But I'd like to travel, so I think I haven't decided exactly where I'm going to be. I would like to. My ideal situation is to be able to move and be able to be in different spaces and have places to be in, communities to be a part of. So Zambia would definitely be one of those, but I wouldn't say it's the only place.
So would you then still like to be in England and Zambia? So would you like?
Oh no, I'm done with England. No, England doesn't really. I do have some family, so maybe to visit family, but in and of itself, I'm 26 years old. I've lived my whole life here. There's nothing else for me to see here. So for me, and I'm saying other places, I'm thinking other African countries I'd like to be. There are certain places in the Middle East and in Asia I'd like to travel to. But I think as a start, Zambia is a brilliant start because it's very easy for someone who's come from England to kind of adapt because of how modern it is, because of the culture as well. It's easier to adapt to. I know sometimes I've had friends who've gone to certain other places and the culture is so different, it's difficult to adapt. But with Zambia, it seems kind of compatible with our experience here in the UK.
How do you feel that the people received you when you went to Zambia based on the fact that it was your first time going to an African country?
The reception was really, really good. The people have a very chilled kind of vibe. It was lovely, to be honest. We went out a couple of times towards the end of the trip actually, and you just go out, you meet people, you talk to people, and they're very friendly, very respectful. They just ask a few questions about where you're from and whatnot. But it was nice. I didn't feel, I was in, where were we? Jamaica, and I think you felt like you were getting treated a little bit, not that the people weren't friendly, people were beautiful, but sometimes you felt like you were getting treated a little bit differently because you're from the UK. You must have it good, so people ask you for extra things and stuff like that. But we didn't really, in Zambia, I think that people have more of a reserved kind of nature, so it doesn't go down that path, but they're still happy to see you.
And what do you like about Next Level Developments? What do you think that's progressed really well so far?
The building of the group, the fact that it's a holistic kind of program, which is not just about generating individual wealth, but it's about people coming together to actually benefit themselves, their families, and the whole diaspora. And also the fact that it's of benefit. The idea is not really to take our pounds, and for those our American members, take our dollars and rinse out Africa. It's about how do we help develop Africa and how can they help us. So it's a mutually beneficial program, and I think that's what makes it really special, because a lot of the time what happens is when we talk about going back to Africa, we are going back to be the new slave masters. We're going to take our money and buy a big yard and buy a big car and go out there and flex, and we're not really thinking of the benefit, how we're going to benefit the communities that are already there. With Next Level Development, it's built into the ethos. We have to actually bring value to our people that are there.
And what would your message to the viewers or people in the diaspora be?
We've been suffering for a very long time. I think as black people, we're naturally very strong, we're naturally very tough. And so we go through the motions. So it's like it's when you study and think about what we've been through a lot. We continue to suffer, and rather than just doing the same thing, what I would say is it's time for us to do something different, truly to do something different. And I think the idea of coming together, saving in a structured way, working with like-minded people, and actually going back to our homelands is something that we have to take very seriously, because I don't think there's much of a future for us in the UK and in the Western world generally.
I'm Damien George. 44 years old and a dental technician, alongside being an entrepreneur with a couple of businesses.
And you're part of Next Level Development, so how did you get involved in that?
I've known Justin a long time, and I saw a few adverts on WhatsApp groups, and I realised who was behind it, and I thought I'd get involved because I've got another group in Gambia, and I thought I'd try and get some more expertise from Justin and the Next Level Development crew.
And what appealed to you about Next Level Development?
I've been in a different country in Africa. I've been to Gambia many times. I thought Zambia is another country in Africa I could just go and check out, and the good thing is there's people on the ground who I know already, so I thought I'd check it out and see what they were doing. And
you said you're involved in some other business projects, is that correct? Can you explain a bit more, and have you brought some of those skills that you've got from doing business into this project with Next Level Developments?
Yeah, I have more with experience of dealing with people in Africa, because it's not easy, and what we've been used to in England is a whole different culture and maybe mindset shift. So yeah, what I've learned in Gambia, I think I can bring that to the fore in Zambia as well, and I can't wait to get out there in May to just meet some of the people out there.
How have you found it working in the group?
Yeah, good. Main thing is meeting like-minded individuals, and I think the older I've got, you realise you gravitate to people, or just the way life is, you gravitate to people who've got the same mindset as you. And I believe I'll end my days in Africa, so I'm just making steps now to make that happen, strategizing, planning, and actually doing what we're saying we're going to do. Putting money where my mouth is, which is really important, I think.
So do you have a particular time frame of when you see yourself in Africa?
As soon as possible. That 2 years would be great, but obviously I want to go from Africa and back to the UK, back to wherever in the world, just have a base there, and I can do what I want to do from there, because I believe there's a lot of opportunities in Africa, and yeah, it's time for myself to actually make inroads and start building that legacy.
And how important to you is repatriation for yourself and people in the diaspora to go into Africa?
People who know me would say I go on about it all the time, because I think, to be fair, I believe that's the solution for diasporans and people, black people all over the world, to go back to Africa and just live there. There's plenty of space, plenty of resources, and opportunities waiting for us to take our skills, what we've learned in the West, and build back Africa to where it should be. And I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's not where it needs to be right now. And that's me being honest.
Have you seen anything at Next Level Developments that you specifically like that maybe you haven't seen in other groups where you've worked with in the past?
I wouldn't say I like more. I wouldn't say I like more. I would just say there's been a little bit more professionalism that I'm not used to, which I've been able to learn. I'm learning myself, so I can put that to any other group that I'm working with as well. So yeah, things like extensive codes of conduct, certain contracts are in place that makes it easier for us coming from the West, where we know about all that stuff, and maybe not in Africa. We just just a way of implementing what we know here and making it the best of both worlds, in my opinion. If you've got problems in this country, I'm from the UK, check us out, and this might be a solution that you may have not thought of. And going to Africa in the sun, for our health, to work with our people where we were taken from, and we know that now, or we should know that. Why would we not go back and just start building bridges?